Greetings, Sanibonani to everyone out there. Again, I am your host, AV, and this is Disturbing the Peace. So let's get right into it. Is it me or is crime paying in this country? It seems as if crime pays nowadays in this country. Wait, guys, before you jump me, let me cook the pot. Let me cook the pot, and you'll tell me if I've burnt the food or if I'm cooking. So, if we simplify crime and take it at face value, it's a means to an end, right? It's a means to an end. You want something, you don't necessarily have the means to acquire that thing legally, so you choose an illegal manner to acquire that thing. Now, with everything, there's a risk to reward ratio. So if we look at crime intrinsically and in its simplest state, we have to ask ourselves, do the risks outweigh the rewards? Because as soon as the risks outweigh the rewards, then that's society, that's a healthy functioning society. But if the rewards outweigh the risks, well, that's a big problem. If someone is thinking about breaking into a house and they think, the risks are not that severe, but the rewards could be higher, then we have a big problem, and I think that's where we are in this country. Like, crime pays, and the consequences are minuscule to none at this point. Like, no one is holding criminals to account, and that is the issue. There is a low risk, high rewards. You steal someone's car, you have the possibility of going to jail. What does that entail? Let's break down the criminal justice system in this country. So we have three elements. We have law enforcement, number one. We have the judicial system, which is the courts, the constitution, the laws of the land, number two. Number three, we have correctional services. Let's begin with the law enforcement. Guys, do I really need to say it? Am I the one to say it? Like, best case scenario, our law enforcement officers are underpaid, overworked, undermanned, and under-resourced. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, they are corrupt. That's not even the worst case scenario, actually. They are outright criminals. They kidnap people. They literally hold drugs for drug dealers. That's the worst case scenario. Like, the extreme that we are accustomed to is the fact that they are corrupt. But again, before we start playing the blame game, let's actually assess whether or not police in this country are the villains or the victims of a broken system. Because again, we have to remember, not all cops are corrupt. But if you have to say that about law enforcement, that's like saying not all doctors kill. The moment you make that statement, there's a scary number of doctors that are outright killers that just go to work and fail dismally, and that means dead bodies left, right, and center. So not all police are corrupt. But what does that mean? You have police that are corrupt, which means that the ones that are not corrupt cannot trust the corrupt ones, which is an issue in itself. Corrupt police officers working with criminals, underfunded, underpaid, undermanned, overworked. That's a recipe for disaster right there. Let's basically just take a step back and look at law enforcement as a whole in this country. So do we have specialties, like do we have separation of powers in law enforcement? Like, is there an independence within the branches of law enforcement? And I'm not talking in terms of provincial and whatnot. I'm talking strictly in terms of specialization, if I may put it that way. I don't know the correct colloquialism, but are there drug enforcement agencies within the SAPS? Are there special crimes investigators within the SAPS? Are there financial crimes investigators within the SAPS? Probably yes. Are they efficiently manned and effective at their job? That's a hard no. That's a hard no, and it's primarily not. I don't want to say, I don't want to blame the law enforcement officers, because at the end of the day, they are part and parcel of a system. Who establishes that system? Government. Government establishes laws. Government builds the structure of law enforcement. If there's no separation of powers, if there's no independence within law enforcement, think about it this way. If I'm a special investigator and I'm investigating someone, and that person is connected to a corrupt police officer, and we are within the same branch of law enforcement, does it not become easier for that person to trace me through their corrupt police officer friend? If there's no independence. For that matter of fact, here's a further question. Let's double down. Is there an internal investigative unit within the SAPS? Granted, if it exists, it should be independent, but does it exist like a watchdog for the SAPS? Do we even have an intelligence institution? It does exist. I know for a fact it does exist. Is it popular? Is it effective? Is it contributing towards the reduction of crime in this country? I'm going to say no. So, in a nutshell, the problem is the SAPS, law enforcement, in its totality, has become ineffective. And that's a big problem when the people that are supposed to catch the lawbreakers are now becoming ineffective. That's a big red flag. It's starting to feel like criminals are more efficient than police because, again, undermanned, underpaid, overworked, under-resourced. Do I need to break it down anymore? These people, some of them lack the bare skills to be police officers. And by the way, just as a side note, is there, I'm not trying to body shame or anything, but in certain jobs, I think it's necessarily okay to say, we need you to be at this certain weight if you are going to be chasing criminals on foot. I feel like that's okay to say. We've seen some police officers patrolling, and you look at this person and you nah, you'd never catch me. Not in a foot chase. Nah, you are not catching me. Straight up. You've seen certain police officers. Is there a physical requirement for police officers? That's just a side note. Just a question, Jay. I'm putting it out there. If anyone has the answer, please answer, but I digress. Now, let's look at SAPS as a whole. Are they efficiently trained in terms of investigation, undercover work, ethics, catching criminals. What else can I add? Physical combat, basically. Can this person fight a criminal off physically if their gun is not involved? Are they firearm efficient? Can they shoot accurately? These are all questions we don't necessarily have the answers to. And the big deal is that we hear every day that police officers are dying. And I think it's a composite of many problems. Number one, lack of efficient training. Number two, they are getting betrayed by their own fellow officers who are corrupt. We have to accept that there are corrupt police officers in this country at this point. It's not something we can ignore. But okay, let's say all of these things that I've mentioned are a problem. But it's hard to call them out when you are underpaying them and you are undermanning them. When there are not enough police officers on the ground in this country, when the ones that we have are underpaid. And I'm sorry, if you are going out there to risk your life to protect and preserve the laws of this country and you get paid under 30,000 rands, you are underpaid. You're underpaid. I don't care what anyone says. There are people who are sitting in offices right now getting paid more than police officers. They clock in at work at 12 o'clock and leave 1 o'clock because no one is there to ensure that they actually perform their duties. Meanwhile, police officers have to be there. We are constantly calling on them. So, yeah, if you're going to tell me that police officers are getting paid less than 30,000, they are underpaid. Again, I'm not here to play the devil's advocate or pick a side or judge or crucify. I'm just here to spark the conversation and look at the situation as it is from my perspective. I'm not bringing the facts, I'm just bringing my observation. Anyone out there who has facts, who has stats, you're welcome, feel free. Take what I say with a grain of salt, bring about more information. This is how conversations go. So let's play, if we live in a perfect world, let's play that game for a second. Let's say that police officers are well paid. Let's say that there are enough officers. They are well trained, exceptionally trained. Someone even once suggested that officers in this country should circulate province by province. Let's say something like that is implemented and corruption in law enforcement is at an all-time low. Let's say there is a division of specialties within law enforcement, like there's an independence of branches within law enforcement. Let's live in a perfect world and say law enforcement is efficient. Let's take it to the courts. Let's take it to the laws that they have to enforce themselves. Are the laws of this country really enough at this point where we stand? Like, is there enough incentive to discourage a rapist from committing the crime? No. Like, there's not. I'm sorry, there's not. We must remember that laws are meant to discourage and prevent illegal behavior, not to address it after the fact. So, if our laws are structured to address crime after it has occurred, our laws are failing in a sense. They should be preventative, and they are not. They are not. Like, we've reached an extremity where I am comfortable saying that I would basically endorse a law whereby if you are a rapist, we take you to a doctor, you get castrated medically, lose your equipment. I'm okay with that. Someone else will say, what about the ones that are innocent? Whatever. Because every time we bring about the conversation of change, there's always a few people that are affected. There's always few people affected. And we sacrifice laws that could change the culture. Remember, in this country, we have to be honest and we have to be realistic. In this country, crime has become a culture at this point. It's become a culture. Anytime a criminal can commit a crime in full view of the public and people do nothing, it's a culture. It's not an anomaly. That person is not an outlier. He is part of the culture. The little compromises, the little illegal compromises that we engage in, drunken driving, bribing, all of that, buying a job, nepotism, those are criminal acts. That's criminal behavior. That's illegal behavior. That's undesirable behavior within a civilized society. And we sacrifice laws that are supposed to serve the collective good to accommodate the few. I don't know if I'm putting it in an understandable way. Take it this way. You go to any place and you say, I'm going to build a factory that makes bricks and I'm going to have machines make those bricks. And in that place there are bricklayers. You are going to have an uproar. Even though you are bringing about an efficient way of creating a product, people will go against you because there are a few people that are becoming collateral, which is what I'm saying. If you say, take the rapist, go castrate him, and someone says, what about these few innocent people? We are sacrificing the collective good for individuals. So I think we need a reform in terms of like the laws of this country. We need to reform the laws of this country to address things like murder, multiple counts of murder, repeat offenses of an egregious nature like repeat offenders, rapists, murderers, people who are literally not supposed to be coexisting with other human beings. Bring back the death penalty. I'll say it. Come for me. Bring the smoke. Whatever. Fuck it. I'll say it. Bring back the death penalty. We need to address these few people that are at an extreme. There was a case in Eastern Cape where a child was murdered, cooked by a human being, and they found the remains in a pot. That person should not be coexisting with society. That person does not belong in prison. That person is beyond reproach. We need laws that address those issues, and more importantly, we need preventative laws, laws that can prevent the breakdown of society. Because when we lack laws and law enforcement that is efficient, we live with barbaric, how can I put this in a straightforward manner? We live with people that exhibit barbaric behaviors in a civilized society. It's not scary for a lot of people to go to jail anymore. They're not scared of jail. They're not scared of the consequences. Let's take it a step further. In the same scenario, perfect world, law enforcement works efficiently. In a perfect world, the law is strong, like the Constitution is strong, the judicial system is strong, the Department of Justice is efficient. Someone commits a crime. Law enforcement catches them. They go to court, they are tried, they are convicted. 5 years in prison. What does that mean? Let's look at our correctional facilities. Let's take some time and look at correctional services. Is it a deterrent to crime, or is it basically perpetuating crime? Because our prisons are overpacked, like full, to the point where people who have committed insane crimes are being given minimal sentences so that they can be in and out. You take this person who has committed this crime, got caught, justice took its course, this person was convicted, now they are in a prison setting. You are putting them in the same place as people who behaved in the same manner. Again, same problem. Prison warders undermanned. Someone please go out there and check the stats. Like, if we can check the stats, you would realize that one prison warder is probably dealing with 20 and above prisoners. That's just the ratio that I'm just throwing out there. You could find that it's worse. It's way worse than what I've just described. So anyway, this person goes to prison for exhibiting an undesirable behavior. We put them in the same setting as someone else who exhibited that same behavior, and you lock them in a cage. What are they doing, basically, for those 5 years? Are we equipping this person with skills to re-enter society? Are we able to reintegrate this person into society? Looking at the current correctional services systems, like the structures within the correctional services, the prisons, learning programs, behavioral rehabilitation, is all of that reintegrating this person into society? Yeah, no, no, that's a dead-ass no. How many repeat offenders would you sit and talk with before you accept that that is a clear no? At this point, if someone changes and they come out of prison, it is out of sheer willpower. It is that person. The prison system did not help. That person had to chase the change. I've never been in prison per se, but I've met a lot of repeat offenders. And it seems like prison is not working. Prison is not deterring people from committing crimes. That's it. In a nutshell, that's the problem. Very few people who have been to prison are scared of prison anymore. Like, you'll hear them say, nah, prison is not nice. But if you check behind what they're saying, how many times has that person gone to prison before they eventually said, nah, I'm not going back there anymore? Like, the prison system within this country, first of all, we have a lot of things working against an efficient correctional services system. The numbers gang, has become an integral part of South African prison. So I'm not going to speak much on that because that's a sensitive issue. I don't know anything about numbers. I'm not going to claim to know anything about numbers. Regardless of what I know, as long as I've never been to prison, I know nothing about prison gangs and whatnot. So I'm not going to get into that, but I would argue that that is a strong drive towards the very behavior that most people in prison are in prison for. That, the numbers gang, reinforces that behavior. I would argue that. Correct me if I'm wrong if you're out there. But let's move on. So you have this person in prison, 5 years. Again, the question, what are they doing? If the government was efficient, if the government was not incompetent, I'm gonna say it outright, the government incompetent, those two words, I said them, come for me, I don't care. If the government was not incompetent, those people would not be sitting idly in prison. Because remember again, there's the saying that idle hands do the devil's work. Put these people to work so they can gain experience within that 5 years. What is their economic contribution within those 5 years? Remember, this person needs a roof over their head. Who's paying for it? Directly or indirectly, the victim. This person needs food in their belly. Who's paying for that food? The victim. Taxes, baby. This person needs to be reformed. Those skills that they need to gain before coming out of prison, who's paying for them? Toiletries, whatever. The victims, society as a whole is paying for those things. Again, someone will argue, no, they receive commissary from families, Ipesuk. That's money going into prison that could have been used otherwise in other places. If their families are taking money and giving it to them, that's money that could have been used otherwise. That basically says that the government cannot afford the prison system. If you're saying that families, regardless of whether it's families of those people in prison, or friends or relatives or whatever, if those people have to go and give those people money so that they can survive, government cannot afford prisons. That's what that is saying. So in a perfect world where a government is efficient, put this person to work, train this person, give this person skills. Okay, again, let's play in a perfect society. The prison reform happens. Prisoners are now in a space where they don't have to be overcrowded. There's enough prison warders to watch over them. There are stricter laws within the prison system. By the way, we have prisoners committing crimes in prison. That should tell you something. How many times have we seen video footage of prisoners basically telling you, hey, we're living the life here. Like, it's not what you think. The consequences you talk of, we're not feeling them. Like, we're not feeling the heat. How many times have you seen evidence online of prisoners committing crimes in prison? That is just something else that tells you that prison reform in this country is minimal to non-existent. Whatever the prison system is in its current state, it has failed. It's time to overhaul it. So let's live in a perfect society where the prison is operating efficiently. This person's behavior is being culled out of their mind. This person's undesirable behavior. What happens when they come out of prison? Stamp. Criminal record. That is literally prohibiting this person from earning a living. Unemployability. That hinders the person who has now been reformed from earning a living. Say you took a person who committed a crime. Let's experiment. Arrested them, they go through the courts, get convicted. You put them in isolation for the remainder of their sentence. Implement prison reform at its best. Skills training, whatever, everything. Psychological evaluations. everything you need to do to make sure that when this person steps out of prison, they are changed. Why are you punishing that person for paying for the crime? Again, it's a question. Like, I'm not saying that companies should be forced to hire people who have committed crimes. No computer company, let me rather say IT company with computers, wants to hire someone who was arrested for stealing computers. So what I'm saying is, basically, if I can put it in a nutshell, it's the same issue with education. When the government decided that corporal punishment was now illegal, what was the replacement? What was the alternative? I'll wait, please tell me. It's the same thing. Right, you should disclose to the greater society that this person was in prison for this crime, for this duration. Fine. Now, what are you doing to ensure that this person is employable? That this person can put those skills to good use? That this person can earn a living and does not need to turn to crime? That is my question, basically. Because if there's no answer, in other countries, there are companies that are incentivized to hire prisoners because government has put a structure in place to ensure that they can monitor these prisoners. These people that have come out of prison, they can be monitored within their workplace to ensure that their undesirable behavior, their illegal behavior has been effectively removed within their psychology, that this person has actually been reformed. So you see the vicious cycle. The very place that's supposed to change the mentality of people who have committed crimes reinforces it. You take people who commit crimes, arrest them, they go through the courts, and then we put them in a place that basically encourages that behavior. When they step out, we have no plan for them. We basically say, fend for yourself, you have a stamp on your forehead, you are a criminal. What's the alternative? The only alternative they have is what they've learned in prison: crime. They committed a crime out of prison, they went in prison and found that crime still exists within the prison system, where it should not be existing. It still exists. So what have they learned? Crime. They can't be employed because they have a criminal record for 10 years. Is it still 10 years? Not sure. But for a long period of time, this person is unemployable because they have this criminal record. What are you doing to give this person an alternative? We're still living in a perfect world where people, like common society, is no longer suffering the burden of unemployment. This person comes out, are they employable? That's the wonderful question I'm asking. Anyway, guys, I leave the conversation to you. Please comment, like, subscribe, do what you must, but please have this conversation. Keep disturbing the peace. Again, I'm AV. Deuces.